could do that. And this is a meeting of some friends of mine who have given up their evening just to help me understand some things about our camp and our future of our camp. And guys, let me just give you sort of a survey of what we're up to. So, for 7 years up here in Denver in the Rocky Mountains, my son and I have created a father-son camp. This is something that goes back to our days when we lived in Los Angeles. I realized that I needed lots of help in becoming a good dad. And so I circled up with people. Actually, the first book I found on this topic was at Steve Bowen's house there in Los Angeles. It was called Raising a Modern Day Knight. And got together with some guys, had the ceremonies and so forth. And so my son, who can't be here tonight because he's working, Lucas, we have through the years have had different events, and we've mushroomed that into a real nonprofit. So we have a board of nine, actually 10 people, and we have a camp that's at a campground. We tent camp, and there's a cycle of 4 camps. So year one is a survival skills camp that we do with a Navy SEAL and a British Commando, and we tied it into being a warrior or co-spiritual warrior with your dad. So the overall paintbrush of our camp is helping fathers and sons connect on a deeper level with each other, with God, and the outdoors. And I know some of you are fathers of sons, some of you are fathers of daughters, some of you who will be listening to this are single men. I have found my personal view on life, there's no greater need that we have in our country than to support our dads and help them see a community form around them
Mhm.
to encourage their sons to
Yeah.
grow. And so that was something that, yeah, Lucas and I turned around and decided to make a deal, make a ministry, if you will. My personal story is my dad was a World War II vet, and he really wasn't a father figure. He came home with PTSD, so he was just a warm body in the house. And so I really had to grab some people and get some help, and did the best job we could do, but there's still a lot more to learn.
Mhm.
So our camp, as I said, has, let's see, did I go through, that's year one, the survival skills camp, year one. Year two is our automotive skills camp. Last year we had a brother by the name of David Bruce come out, and we spoke to the idea of learning to maintain a car. And we had 4 cars out there, and we got under the cars, did an oil change, and it was great. We had a lot of fun. And we segued that into it's great that you know how to maintain a car. How about learning to maintain your brain? And so David is a counselor, and we got into the sort of the mechanics of how your brain works. It was a wonderful experience with him. And so that's year two. Year three will be next year. We will do a home improvement skills camp. We've done it before. It's a lot of fun. We go out and do a Habitat for Humanity project on the Saturday. And it's a weekend. It's the last weekend of July is when we program this. We do a Habitat for Humanity program. We do some DIY projects. And then this year, even my board doesn't know this, we've signed up a mentor of mine and a favorite author of mine named Jim Wilder. He's going to actually be part of our camp, and he's going to be talking about great that you know how to build a house. How about learning how to build a friendship, which is so, you know, important. We think that we know how to build friendships, but really and truly, there's some skills involved. So that's year three. That's next year. Our year four will be a mountain skills camp where we whitewater raft, we zip line, we rock climb, and we learn about having a hobby with your dad, having a cause with your dad. We talk about that a lot. So those are the 4 years, 4 camps. So here's the deal. Here's why I've gathered you guys here in particular. I think we've done a good job in bringing the white population to our camp up in Winter Park. We've got a good segment of Hispanics that are coming, but I'm wanting to know how to engage better with the African American father and son community. and I'm here with a pen in my hand, and we're recording this. And what you can do to help me is to think, what is relevant? Maybe what we have going on in the mountains is very white-esque, maybe tent camping is not something that really communicates well. Maybe there's some other things that you can suggest that we incorporate that can pull people in. But I think that all races, doesn't matter what background someone comes from, we all have this need to learn how to connect deeper with our sons. And I feel like if you've connected deep with your son, there's a place for that boy sometimes along the road to lose faith. Well, I believe that if there's a deep connection between father and son, just like the Bible says, train up a child in the way he should go. When he gets older, he won't depart from it. So I just believe that's a call that we have, is to continue to help dads connect with their sons. Doesn't matter what age those boys are. Last year we had 8-year-olds come to camp, but we have kids that are out there post college age. You know, we're building a community. This is not just a once a weekend type thing, but we find ways to connect through the year. So, maybe you could come to the table and say, I've seen this or that activity be more engaging. Um, Maybe having it in Colorado is not the greatest idea. Maybe we can have it somewhere else. We do have scholarships. It's $200 a person to be a part of this camp. And so the scholarships can offset the cost of getting up here. Um, but yeah, maybe you have something that you've done with your kids that you would say, this is something you might consider doing in the outdoors. Um, Something, that would encourage fathers and sons to spend a weekend together. So I've said my piece. This is why you guys are being paid the big bucks, to help me understand what we could do. And there's all kinds of great ideas, and I'm taking good notes. So who would like to jump in and break the ice here with me? By the way, Andre Pearson just showed up. He's from Denver. Hey, brother, good to see you. Thanks for jumping in.
Hey, sorry, I'm a little bit late.
Good to see you.
Well, Bart, if no one else will go, I'll jump in and be the guinea pig here.
Yeah.
For those that I don't know, my name is CMAC, and let me say, for Byron and for Steve Bowen, you guys have heard these stories before, so I apologize for retelling them to you. But my humble thought is just simply any type of time that a father can spend with a son in the outdoors is great time. And that can be anywhere. And it's just a matter of spending the time together. I am today the full-time caregiver for my elderly father, and it's why I'm here in Canton, Ohio. But that relationship was not always on a good in good we weren't always in a good relationship. After my father and mother got divorced, my dad and I didn't talk for about 10 years, and finally I called him and said, I can't try to call myself a Christian, a disciple of Christ, and not try to repair our relationship. And I told him, I said, Dad, you've always wanted to go hunting for elk, moose, and grizzly up in Alaska, where the British Columbia and the Yukon come together. If I take you on a trip up there, will you come with me? And he said, son, we hadn't talked in 10 years. And he said, son, I will come with you tomorrow. And I said, look, it's going to take me some time to put that together. And so that following September, back in, I think it was 2005, we went up and spent 10 days spike camping. He came back with an elk. I came back with an elk and a moose. And ever since then, we talked every Friday. And then when he was no longer able to care for himself, I've now left New York and have come here to Ohio to take care of him. And It's my joy. He has a joke that he tells all of his friends, which is he pays me a high salary, and that he gives me he gave me a raise recently. I went from getting 2 zeros a month to 3 zeros a month, and so he makes sure that everyone knows that he's keeping pace with inflation as he's making sure that I'm compensated well for what I'm doing. And on a flip note, I have two sons of my own, and I've spent a tremendous amount of time with them in the outdoors, fishing. I've spent time with them in Colorado at the Bar Lazy J Dude Ranch with another friend of ours that Steve Bowen knows, Doug Dean, and we went out there together and spent time there. I've also taken them with me to on trips to see the Great Wall of China together, to see the Egyptian pyramids together, to go out and see the Roman Colosseum together. But I have just found that whenever I can spend time, be it with my dad as his son or with my own two sons out in the wilderness, it is great time together. The biggest impact was a book called Becoming Dad by Leonard Pitts Jr. That really helped me to understand my dad and just the challenges that his generation went through. And after I read that book, I really had so much more compassion for all the things that he had gone through in his life. So I would just start out by saying any time together that a father and son can spend in the outdoors is great time. I've done that both with my own father, but also with both of my sons, just spending as much time as we can in the outdoors. So that's I'll start there, Bart.
That's great, C-Mac. Thank you for that. I love the stories. Who else wants to chime in?
Hey, C-Mac, this is Mark Harrison here.
Yes, Mark, how you doing?
I'm doing well, and I really have to say that I can definitely relate to what you're talking about with your dad. I brought my dad out from Colorado or California, excuse me, to Colorado. Um, and he was suffering from dementia too. And so,
Yep.
I had the pleasure. That's exactly what it is. It was a pleasure for me to be able to give back to my dad all the things that he had given me, and so we spent the last years of his life here together. And now my mom is here, and we just kind of all take care of each other.
Yes.
But I wanted to say that I remember some things that my dad did. Now, we came from California during the time of the Watts riots and stuff like that, and my dad would always tell me that while they were out there rioting, he was trying to find a job, and he did. He had a great work ethic. He was a dairyman. He made ice cream. He did yogurt. He did all of those things. He was the first black manager of an ice cream factory, Baskin Robbins. Everybody's heard of that in California. So, I was very proud of him. And growing up, I tried to emulate him, but he was so busy, but the times that we did get out, we went camping, we went fishing, we did horseback riding, things like that, and those, like you say, those times, those times of being together were so important and impactful to me, growing up, and yeah, I went through, a bunch of stuff like, 20 somethings do, but in the back of my mind, I always remember, what uh, his inspiration was to me, and how I can pass that on to my children. And I'm glad to say that I have one son, I have four daughters, three two of them are married. My son is getting ready to get married, and so they're kind of in a stage of their life now where they're looking for as much advice as they can get because they want to do it right, and so I just wanted to just throw that out there. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Mark, I'm going to throw down fishing. Uh, we've had some fishing experiences, fly fishing and so forth at our camps,
Right.
but we very well could add lake fishing to the mix here. So I'm throwing that one down.
Sure.
Yeah, again, I'm just looking for thoughts, ideas, how to engage. Thanks, Mark.
Okay. All right. Hey, Bart, how are you?
Good.
This
Who's
is
this?
This is
Hey,
Brother Tyrone
Tyrone.
Harris.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate what the other gentlemen have said. Of course, my context is I come from a fatherless background, so I'm deeply concerned as a father myself now, married for 25 years. I have a 21-year-old son and a 17 daughter, you know, and I'm thinking that perhaps because there can be a challenge for some people to make it up to uh, Colorado, is why not duplicate this camp where you could have it in different locations, same time of the year, and the same particular camp. So if it's auto mechanics over there, it's auto mechanics here as well. And then maybe like every seventh year or something like that, we could have one camp where we can all get together at a certain place and do something together, you know, because I'm thinking I would love to come, but it just was not financially feasible to come at this time, even though there was a scholarship. Still, trying to get to drive up there with so many things going on would be a challenge, you know. So I think that that would be good. Uh, I like what the other, I think it's CMAC said about, he spends every moment he possibly can with his sons, and I try to do that as well. I try to focus with, we're not able to do a lot of the outdoor stuff, but I try to focus on spiritual things. And so when I'm not saying outdoor stuff, it's not spiritual, but like reading scripture and discussing it, or we have like our life groups. So I try to get them involved with our life groups as well. Having a community is so important, you know, and in my case, we don't have a lot of family around us. As a matter of fact, my kids don't have any cousins, aunts, or uncles around them. They just have me, their dad, and their mom, and each other, and the church family. So spending time with the church family is very important to us. And so that's what we're trying to basically help build that community because we don't have the extended family, biological extended family involved at this time. So I think that getting these camps together is a great idea. It gives my son an opportunity, just like when we do other camps, to build relationships with other men. He needs to have other men involved in his life and not just me. I can't do it by myself. I know that, you know, and if he could have other men speaking into his life, because sometimes a kid will listen to somebody else before they'll listen to their own parent sometimes. So that's what I am interested in doing with my son, and I hope that with the camps that perhaps we could perhaps extend it to where it's in other places, doing the same camps, same year, wherever it is, you know, but it makes it easier, I think, for others to get involved in it if they can have something that's nearby.
Sounds sounds good, Tyrone. You only have to nominate yourself one time to take on the job of starting this in Texas. I think that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Couple of thoughts just to throw out there. Yeah, we have people coming from Arizona, for instance,
Uh-huh.
at the end of July, and they're happy to get on the road and get the heck out of
Yeah.
110-degree Arizona for a
Oh yeah.
weekend up in the
Yeah.
mountains where it's a little bit cooler.
Yeah.
And just a note about the travel. So, it's all about checking out the flights and the costs to
Uh-huh.
get to DIA if you were to fly in. We'll work out the logistics of getting you from the airport
Uh-huh.
to the campground. That's an hour and a half away, and getting you back. Um, But if you choose to drive, here's another perspective. That concentrated time you're spending, let's just say a Thursday and a Friday to get up to our camp start, which is Friday night. What a wonderful period of time to be with your boy in the car,
Uh-huh.
even if you have two flat tires.
Yeah.
Because the challenge of getting that car back on the road,
Yeah.
that's all of life as
Yeah.
well. And turns out sometimes for some people to be the best adventure of the whole weekend, getting to
Yeah.
Colorado in the first place. So,
Yeah.
but
Thanks.
we've made it a weekend only, Friday night through Sunday noon, so that if you're flying in or need to get back to work, we got people who will get back to work to California for 8 o'clock. They leave, Sunday and drive all that way. So anyway, those adventures are wonderful. Not just the camp itself, but
Uh-huh.
getting up there is pretty fun for a lot of folks. So thanks for
It's the
bringing that up.
process. You're welcome.
Yeah,
I I want to thank you, everyone. First of all, Bart, I think it's such a great thing to extend this the way you are doing it. We're wanting to get other people's thoughts on how to, I guess, make a bit more of an inroads into the African American community. I admire that quite a bit, and I think it's very helpful. I just wanted to ditto what Tyrone shared. Because I do agree. I think being able to go to Colorado and doing all that, and even the drive, as you mentioned, that's all a part of the adventure, and that would be great. But I know that the folks around where we're at in Texas, as I've been talking with them about this camp, traveling is the biggest issue.
Yeah.
And people very easily would then think about options. Well, I can do something here, figure out something to do here, something locally. But I do think, having spoken to you, and even when you came here, the presentation you actually did for our group, I think the content of what you're doing is great.
Yes.
And so if there was an opportunity to take it on the road, kind of like maybe an area where there's a large amount of interest and finding a spot and doing it there, I think it would expose a lot more people to what you're doing. And maybe in the future, the willingness to drive up or fly to Colorado, I think that would increase. But that's the one thought I had, that might be one of the ways to just kind of get folks to get a little taste of what you're doing. Because again, the bit you've explained to me and thinking through some of the challenges that I do see. I don't have boys, I have two girls. But my dad, who I know loved me tremendously and I have a ton of respect for, but we didn't grow up where we had a close bond. And so there's, I guess, short story, there's always been a part of my heart that's like, man, I wish I had that close bond with my dad. And I want to be able to form that with my daughters and want them to find men, right, who are going to have those kind of convictions in place. And so I want to be for anything that's going on to help form and train men in that way. So I do think, though, the content of what you're doing is unique, and I think even just fun and adventurous, the way you're formed, your structure and all that. And so again, if there was any possibility where that could be done in another location, obviously where there's enough people where it would be worth doing in another location, I think it would go a long way and might help quite a bit.
cool. And Pierre, I want to lift you up because although you're a leader and have influence on different things there in Texas, I think that if a a daddy who only has daughters, you're paying it forward by by
For
being
sure.
involved in helping boys, get right with their dads and get right with
Yes.
God and so forth. And I think
And there's
every
a little,
male has a role to play in this story, even the single males, even the grandfathers. I think it was I forget who it was, CMAC or someone who just mentioned the idea of having this influence of multi-generation. Boy, that is so important, and to have a community where you know boys can look and say, my dad's not that crazy after all. Look at his best friends, that are around the fire here. And we've seen it happen. Boys who have been with us for 7 years in this thing, they're seeing that this is a valuable community that my dad's a part of, that we're a part of. And so,
Yeah,
really good. I appreciate you bringing that up.
absolutely. I mean, I definitely do have a selfish motivation here. I want my daughters to have men of character to be able to choose from. But I did last year, my thought was to bring my nephew. He lives in New Jersey. And so the plan was to fly him to Texas and he and I would drive to Colorado for that. But then just financially, it became a bit more difficult for me to do. It's still a desire. So we're trying to figure out how to do that. But yeah.
Sounds great. Yeah. Thanks for your help. Who else?
Yes, Bart. Well, you know my story, Bart. Uh, you know, uh, myself, when I was growing up, I grew up in the South, Southern Mississippi, down the Gulf Coast. We grew up out in the country on 5 acres. So, being out in the woods, all the time, during the summer, I would get poison ivy, but I always like going bird hunting, squirrel hunting, on my own with friends. That's who I did it with. My dad, he always worked. He drank. He wasn't around, only on weekends. But he did instill in me how to have good work ethic. So he did teach me how to work on vehicles. He taught me how to do things, on the property and everything. And I would do that, take care of my grandmother on the property. I would take care of the grass, cutting the grass, chopping bushes, whatever, digging ditches, whatever it was. My grandpa I helped him in the summer in the fields, because he had crops, corn, green peas, whatever, cantaloupe, whatever you name it. My grandfather taught me how to, you know, farm because he used to have a farm and a pecan grove, turpentine company, and everything growing up. My dad, he wasn't into that. He worked at a bank. He did other things. He had a business, at one time, with school buses, transporting students and so forth, doing trips. He he also worked for Head Start for a long time, school district. So he did things. He was always working. So I never really saw him unless it was late at night. He'll come home around 11 or so. But he did drink a lot, but he was like a functional alcoholic. He'll still go to work the next day. He always worked hard. He taught us hard work. But the thing I missed is that he didn't teach me how to hunt. He didn't teach me how to fish. He didn't do all that. Other people in my life, like my uncles, took me hunting. I would go with my cousins, or go fishing with my grandpa, my mom. So my dad really wasn't in my life. So I built up resentment on my dad. When I left home, I joined the military just to get away from home. I joined the Air Force, and even in sports, my dad was never there to come watch my games. My mom supported me. She'd pick me up for practice, take me to practice until I got my own car in high school, where I would, drive, to practice or whatever. But I felt like, my dad, he didn't support me. So I felt I didn't have the encouragement. I didn't know how to set goals. I didn't know how to, plan anything, but I mean, the military taught me that, joined the military, and learning on my own and things. But I ended up getting married at a young age. When I was in the military, my wife started dating my wife when she was 17, then she turned 18. We ended up getting married. I was 20, I think I was 22 at the time. And we ended up having three kids together. The first kid, born on the military base. And then the second one, we had already split up. She was pregnant when we split up, because I ended up, being unfaithful to her because I wasn't happy at home. We were always fighting and stuff like that. So then I had my third kid when I was away. When I moved to Seattle, we had split up, and I moved to take a job with Boeing because I was working for McDonnell Douglas in California at the time. Then I moved to Washington, Seattle to work for Boeing. And during that time, I had hooked up with the lady that I had cheated on with her. She lived in Washington. So we were together, and then my ex-wife wanted to get back together, and I said no, because she wanted a divorce, and then she changed her mind. But I stuck with, my ground. And during that time, I lost relationships with my kids. So then I started going back to visit them. And then when they got to the age, I moved back to California to be closer to them, so that way we can build a relationship. But during that time, they were like preteens, and they started doing their own things. Like when it was time to spend time with us in California. This is when I became a disciple. With Bart knows back in the day in L.A. We in 2000 we became disciples in the L.A. church, and that's when I met Bart. In the church, but during that time I was seeing my kids, but then sometimes they'll say, "Oh, they didn't show up. We were supposed to go to uh, an Angels game. I had tickets," and then they said, "Oh, we're going to Uncle Jimmy's birthday party," or they just kept canceling out. "Oh, we're going to Magic Mountain. Oh, we got plans," and so I got really frustrated, buying stuff and then not showing up. So we didn't have a relationship for a long time, and so it wasn't until uh, my middle son called me and said, "Hey, Dad, I forgive you." And hey, so we have a relationship. My middle son, we text at least maybe once a week. My other son, he said he became a Christian at Calvary Chapel in California. So we talked, and I went down to visit him for a weekend in LA. We had a great time, but really he doesn't communicate, so I don't know if he's truly forgiven me, but um, my daughter, she still doesn't talk to me. I have two grandkids. She has a boy and a girl, but I'd never seen, and so forth. So when I joined this board, I told Bart, I said, "Bart, I don't have a relationship with my kids, and but he was okay. You know, it'd be a great example or experience, that you can share or whatever." But I've been trying. I'm trying to I'm trying to get one of my sons to come, the middle son, that we can do it. But I couldn't this year because of certain things. I forgot what it was, but yeah. So that's where I am right now. Is that I didn't have a relationship with my dad. I didn't, and I was angry at my dad because I forgot to mention my dad was very abusive to my mom. And I didn't love him for that. And then I was abusive to my first wife. That was one of the reasons why we got divorced, and I was cheating on her because every time I don't like conflict. I don't like said I wanted to leave, but she wouldn't let me leave. She wanted to talk, and she would get physical with me, and it became physical, and then so things of that nature. So I didn't never wanted to be like my dad, but it's like I did become like my dad. So but other than that, I appreciate Bart. What he's doing. What Lucas is doing. How they started the program. I went. First year I really enjoyed it. It was great, even though it was a surprise. It's just that when Bart approached me saying, "Hey, Fred, how can we draw in diversity? How we can draw in, African Americans? How can we draw them in?" And so that was one of the things that he was asking. So for me, I told him that, you know, growing up as a kid, for me in the South, I mean, I didn't really camp, so these things. I don't like camping, by the way. I like uh, I like being in resorts or hotels, but that's with my wife and I. But I'm willing to sacrifice to be out there. And that was my first time sleeping out in the wild by myself at night, in a makeshift tent and bed, for the survival training, So that was really an experience, and I really enjoyed it. But that's my situation, guys. I just wanted to throw that out there, my testimony, that I'm not a, the greatest father. I'm not even a father, really. But I do know that I want a relationship with my kids. And CMAC, I would love to talk to you about how you didn't have a relationship with your father, and how my kids don't have a relationship with me, how I can get that back. But what I've been doing is
Amen.
sending cards to my kids every month, even my daughter. I know she's not really reading them, but I'm still sending cards every month. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. Just, encouraging them, building them up. Nothing about me. It's not about me, it's about them. And I really desire to have a relationship as I'm getting older now, you know? Yeah, and sometimes I
Thanks.
wonder who's going to take care of me when I get older?
That's right.
Like you're taking care of your dad. I mean, you came back to him, but I hear that all the time, but I'm like praying that, hey, maybe my kids might come back to me, one day. So thank you
Amen.
That's
for
Yeah.
being open
that
about that.
Yeah.
that's
Thanks for
great, Fred. I
sharing.
appreciate you sharing. And boy, we've been given the gift of grace for all of our lives and our ups and downs. So thank you for going deep and letting us hear your story. I'm going to summarize what I've heard so far, guys. And please, those of you who have spoken, I'm going to try to keep this to just 1 hour. So we have about 16, 17 minutes left. So far, I've heard things like this. You might consider a different location. You might consider throwing in fishing. You might consider even what Fred just said, well, this is my interpretation, cabins versus tent camping. And I've looked into it, a place nearby that has the cabin versus the tents. Of course, the tents is the cheaper way to go, and that's kind of been our story, is to keep this economic viable. But let me just hush up. What I haven't heard is, Bart, that what you're talking about or doing is a little bit on the too white side of things. So maybe I'll scratch that off the list as a question. You're welcome to fill in the blank. If there's something there that you want to raise your hand and say, you might consider this as a better way to engage. So I'll be quiet again. Who else can share your thoughts?
Okay. Well, Bart, uh, I have gone camping with my son, and we were in tents just like you guys were up in Colorado. It just happened to be that it was a camp it was a retreat sponsored by my congregation. It was just us. And we went to a place that was in McKinney, Texas. And we slept out overnight and had a devotional the next morning. So I'm certainly not opposed to it. And I think that it's not just a white, so to speak, activity. Others will do it as well. Like I said, it's just a matter of not whether or not they have the amenities, and if it's so far away, the transportation and the finances to get there. But I think they'd be willing to do it, if they had all of the amenities and the things, the finances to do it.
Yeah,
So
I agree with Tyrone. Absolutely.
good, good.
Let me offer an alternative thought there as well. I
Yeah. Hey,
think
Byron.
one, it's great to be together. So is
Yeah,
this going
man.
to be a weekly thing? Is this what's going on here? Uh,
Come on. Let's do it.
but I lost my dad when I was 5 into a car accident, so I didn't really grow up with a father in the household. But I had a lot of people who just kind of stepped in along the way that were very helpful, very supportive. And for me, um, I kind of leaned on scouts, the Cub Scouts, Webelos, Boy Scouts. That was kind of my code of ethic. I really didn't grow up going to church. I found out later why my mom didn't, and she had good reason. But that was kind of my code. And so obviously you do a lot of camping in the Cub Scouts and the Boy Scouts and all that. And when my son Blake was of age, he went to the Cub Scouts and the Webelos and the Boy Scouts. We did a lot of camping, but but it was a lot more than that. I think some of the bonding was in camping. It was in nature. It was outdoors. Some of those projects, but the merit badges really made us go through a very diverse, things from computer science and, swimming and other nature things, archery. There's such a wide variety that's required as you're moving through the ranks that we got a chance to talk about more than just roughing it in the woods. And I know for some people that I'm around, life is roughing it. So going to the woods is not an appealing thing. Maybe they haven't been, but just the idea of uh, let's make life more difficult and let's do without even more and see how that goes. And I'm a camper. I love it. I took my family to Yosemite and up into, Redwood country. We loved it until they didn't want to camp anymore. They wanted more of the hotel, the more the resort, the more spa experience. So it's been a bit of a dance, with my son Blake and with my family. There are times when just being with dad and mom and dad and everybody together, it didn't matter what we did. And then as they got older, they had more definite interests. And so then I had to switch to not so much bring them into my world, but to enter into their world and be an enthusiastic fan of the things that they were interested in. So one of the thoughts I had, and I love the comments here about distance and location, things like that. Sometimes it's a matter of branding. When people think of people who don't camp a lot, when they think of camping, they think of, mosquitoes and roughing it and things like that. But your content is so much more diverse than just camping. So, I don't have a title, but if it was, like the Father and Son Academy or the Father and Son Society or the Father and Son Institute or, whatever it is, something that helps communicate, it's a lot more than just, roughing it in the woods, might appeal to more people.
Really cool. Love it. Byron, thank you so much. You brought up scouts. My buddy Norris is on the line here. Norris takes what I thought Steve's history is about me. Norris, Norris and I went through all 12, I believe, Norris, right? All 12 years of school together in Ferris, Texas. And he himself was an Eagle Scout. And so we were talking about that the other day. I don't know if you're there, Norris, but shout out to you. Yeah, we got about 10, 12 more minutes. Anybody else for a comment? It's
Well, yeah, Bart, yeah, my experience growing up when I went down to join the Scouts, the Boy Scouts, paid my mission, our, I guess, fee to join and then purchased the uniform and everything, and never started because the guy ran off with the money, you know what I mean? So it left a bad taste in my mouth, you know what I mean? In our
yeah,
mouths, So my parents, and we didn't have, we weren't rich, we were not even middle class. I think we were like right below middle class, we were in between poor and middle class. And plus I had, there was eight of us, I was the oldest and, so that was another issue, the money situation. That's why we couldn't do those things. We didn't go out to restaurants. We went to fast food, but we didn't go out to restaurants. I can't remember going out to a restaurant younger. So it wasn't until I joined the military and got out on my own that I started experiencing traveling and, experience eating at restaurants, and since I left, I grew up it was, back in the South, blacks live with the blacks, whites live with the whites. You grew up from Texas, right? So, in my neighborhood, our neighbors, we all had like 5 acres or so, but it was where my cousins and uncles lived and stuff like that. And when I left home, I saw a whole new life. It was diversity because I was in the military, and wherever I went, I was stationed in England, got a chance to meet British people, got to meet different people. So ever since, I've every neighborhood I lived in has been mostly diverse. White, it hasn't been a black neighborhood. It has been black churches because when I became a disciple, it was the first time I seen in LA, blacks, whites, Chinese, everything. I'm used to going to a Southern Baptist church in my neighborhood where it was a church that's been there for years. It was just black. So my experience of leaving home was after that, I never looked back. So it's really hard for me to say, okay, what do blacks like? What do whites like? I just remember growing up till I was 17, how it was, and how I could take that experience and everything. But like most of the time, it's the money situation, it's the travel, unless your family, there's families that are black that, have, you know, parents that have great jobs, are educated, and so forth. But growing up where I was, my parents weren't educated or anything like that. My mom dropped out of school when she was sick to work to support her family. Then she went back to night school to get her GED, And then my dad, he just graduated high school and started working, So in the South, that's the way it was. So
Okay.
uh, that's, like I said, it's not a black or white thing of camping. It's just a matter of the economics,
Gotcha.
and the logistics,
So
you
thanks,
know.
Ray. We got 10 more minutes, and Steve, Andre, Eric, Norris, you guys chime in. Floor is
Okay.
yours.
All right. Go ahead.
Chime in real quick. So for me, I was born and raised in Nigeria. So camping wasn't something that we were used to. Like I could speak for for my family, and my dad was a very he was a Christian man, uh, but he was a provider. But I didn't really have that relationship of like, hey, father son camping together. Um, and I wasn't used to something like that. But one of the greatest memories I have with my dad was when he would take us outdoors in the evenings. And so there's a place just down the street. It's like a park. He takes us there every night, and we'll go sit down there. Just it's funny that's one of the few things I remember. Just that outdoor, the bonding. But he was a very busy man. He was a government worker for the Nigerian government and didn't really have time like that. So camping wasn't something that we were used to. So now I have kids of my own. I have two girls and a boy. I have a little boy. He's 8 years old, and I guess because I didn't experience that, I haven't had a chance to bond with my son in such a way. So a few weeks ago, a brother in church reached out to me and said, "Hey, do you want to go camping with your son?" And I was like, camping? And what struck me was this might be a good time to bond with this boy. We spend good times together. I take him to Chick-fil-A. I take him to McDonald's. We go eat, but like I don't think we've ever experienced that father-son bonding time. Just that, especially that camping. So I said, yeah. So we will be going for our first camping next week, Friday to Sunday. First one.
Cool.
Um, and I don't know what to expect. I'm scared of the mosquitoes and everything. But
Outstanding.
I'm really looking forward to it. This is going to be my first time experiencing such, and I'm excited.
Bro, you
That's
look like
great.
you look like you're a big guy. I think those mosquitoes are gonna be scared of you.
Thanks for sharing your story, Ade. Appreciate it.
Well, hey, Bart. My dad was military, so I grew up moving all the time. I learned how to work. We didn't spend a lot of time together, but I did learn a work ethic through him. Uh, I have one son who is in Colorado. The biggest thing, Bart, I'm in Colorado. I didn't even know about the camp, until you talked to me this Sunday when you're in Colorado Springs. So that's a big thing. I know for my son, he was going to preteen camp and I was going to be his counselor that year. So he seemed to like camp, but my dad died. So he passed away and I had to take care of that for my family. And then shortly after that, I ended up getting divorced a year later. So our joint custody going back and forth. So that, the way it worked out, we didn't get to spend a lot of times just going to school. But I know the times with my son were he liked to travel. He liked to go. We went to the Grand Canyon. He really liked that, getting outdoors and hiking there. So he kind of likes to get outdoors. And I think anything that has fire, that has food, especially if it's beef, steak or whatever, he's up for it. And that's the thing that like that, things like that. But also being around men, I think that would be very good. Just the guy thing, just that camaraderie. We recently took a trip. We drove out to California. spent a week at a timeshare, and that was really good too. So the gym, things like that. But he does like outdoor activities. I don't know if it's a necessarily a black or white thing, but I know that he likes hiking, he likes rock climbing. He's done that since he's been in Colorado. So things like that. But I think the participation and maybe even some team type things, if there are things like that, because he's a sports guy and just things of that nature. So I don't know if that helped, but I definitely want to get information about this camp. And I know we're short on time, so I'm not going a lot into my story, but I appreciate you inviting me to this call here, Bart. Thanks.
Thanks, Eric. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome.
No problem.
Yeah, well, CMAC, Byron, it's great to see you guys after a ton of years.
Yes, sir.
And always good to see you, Bart. I think a couple things, I guess I kind of, in my prep for this call, I was in a different, headspace. And then, I just got off the road not too long ago. But I guess my question would be, because there was something Byron mentioned that I thought of earlier, and it struck a chord again, is a little more focus on, would it be a prudent idea? Am I focusing on African Americans from 0 to 90, or even men and sons from 0 to 90? Because I would think there are stratas of relationship, and just like there've been with me and Devin, through that, that 0 to 12 or so, they're kind of going to do what I do. You kind of bring them, they go, they're kind of dependent. But then you start hitting those teens, those middle school, going into high school, I think was mentioned earlier, then they start to develop their own kinds of identities and interests. And just kind of, where may be a good focus at what strata to start out with for any of it. I think the other thing I thought about was, for the camp you're doing in Colorado, maybe focusing on those proximities that are easier to get there. And then, because I know your curriculum is great, maybe doing a mini something in some pilot places throughout to kind of build, because you're building the relationship, you care about building the relationship. Ultimately, the camp is where you would kind of come, but you could build that somewhere in other groups, at least to start, kind of to get them used to being together. Because I would think, is there a challenge for a father and son who really don't spend time at all together, and then boom, we're just going to go do this, and he's 17, 15, whatever. So I was kind of thinking through that is more from, okay, what is the focus, because then that might help determine whether an activity is or is not appropriate. I don't know. I would have never, I'm not an outdoor guy. I was in California. They said, hey man, you go out there, you'll see God. I went out to the hills, and all I could see was, I want to see my way home. I couldn't do it. I mean, but and I wasn't a hiker, but now I spend my weekends walking through the woods, in some crazy terrains, but it's with a purpose. I'm not walking because I'm walking or just out there. I have an activity that, in order to do this activity, I have to be there, if that makes sense.
Very cool.
So I think, it's figuring the things that would interest whatever is the father-son dynamic, and say, and pull from there. But I would probably think about right around in Colorado, use that as your proving ground first, because there are economic issues, there's travel issues, there's preconceived notion issues that can pop up for anybody. But those kind of things I was thinking through.
Love it. Let me hit what you just got through sharing, Steve. Thanks very much. Number one, the age. This year, we invited 8-year-old kids plus. That was the first time. It typically has been 10 years old plus. But we opened it up, and we had two separate sort of age groups going on. We had 8 through I think it was 13, and then 14 plus. And so we had two different activities going on at the same time. That was really cool, met needs. But a very interesting phenomenon happened when we were down, kind of with downtime. The guys that started to play soccer with one another. Everyone was playing. The young kids wanted to play with the older guys. The older guys loved the younger kids. It was just a real cool atmosphere. And then what I've tried to do, and what I have done in Phoenix, I've done in Los Angeles, I've done in Dallas, speaking to your mini, is to set up a time where I can fly out and just have a group where we talk this out, show a video, have dinner together, and yeah, start building that sort of community. And I thoroughly have a vision for doing this regionally versus just Denver. So, Steve, really, really good stuff. I appreciate it.
Hey, Bart, Steve, did you used to live in Huntington Beach?
Yes, I did.
I remember you now. Yeah,
Mhm.
I remember. Yeah, yeah. I was supposed to come over to visit you, but yeah, I was in LA Church, and I remember you were out in St. Huntington Beach in Orange County. Yes, I remember. And you used to sing and lead the choir, right? Or sing?
Yeah,
Yes, I
Yes,
did.
that's the
Yeah.
Steve. Okay, got it.
he's a he's a singer, no kidding. So, Andre,
Yeah.
one more
Yeah,
chance. Norris, anybody else throw in? Happy to
yeah,
hear it.
yeah. I'll just echo real quickly. First of all, again, I want to say I appreciate you just being willing just to initiate and trying to make this happen, trying to diversify the SKP camp. I appreciate that a lot. So thank you for having that on your mind, your heart. I really appreciate it a ton. Just to echo what Steven said, my two thoughts was that same idea. I think that we have to try to um, do some smaller things throughout the year to build connections with people. Because I think, just from my perspective, I think just in general, nobody's going to bring their father. In my mind, it's hard to bring father and son together like with the people you don't even know. You know what I'm saying? If there's if there's some relationship there, some connection there, you have a great chance of getting people to come out. So I think, you're definitely doing that. I think we got to just go do more of that and just really try to find some more watering holes where the black community, where black men and boys are at. But I think, yeah, just the idea of having some kind of a connection time, relationship building time throughout the year, and have these, and not just you, but have these other dads, build relationships and say, hey, let's all go to this thing together in July. So I think just having some kind of a mini thing. And I think fishing can't go wrong with that. And the last thing I thought was maybe I don't know if it's a bit how big logistically is this possible or not is just give people a chance for just going out for the day rather than for the whole weekend. I think just do maybe just come up for the day if money or time is the issue. Just come fishing for the day and get a lesson, what I'm saying, and start off with that. Those are my three thoughts is relationship
That's
building,
cool.
anything behind. Yeah.
I want to just tell you something about Andre. He's been a elementary school principal here in Denver for years. How many years?
18.
18
18.
years. One of the things that his parents have gotten into, if you've never heard of this, you should check it out. Something called All Pro Dads. It's a Tony Dungy sponsored uh, nonprofit. And once a month at his school, he had the dads come with the children and they do activities. It's just amazing. I've been there a few times. Very, very inspiring to see dads really honor their kids and have breakfast together and stuff. So I'll just throw that one out. Well, guys, we passed the 1 hour mark. I sure appreciate you showing up. Means the world to me. I know that I've cashed in all my favors by having you be here on this call tonight. Especially those guys on the East Coast, CMAC and Steven, you guys are working on 10 o'clock plus. So I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Let me
Thank
just
you
wrap up
guys
with a
for being
prayer.
there.
Okay. Hey,
Love to catch
Bart.
up with you guys some more.
Yeah, Bart. Would you mind if I
Yes,
said something about the book I told you about, Fatherless book? This is Tyrone
sure.
Harris.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just want to let you know. I just sent you a text of it, but that it's out at Amazon now. It's a book on fatherlessness. It's called Fighting for Our Families, a devotional book designed to help fatherless men navigate marriage and family. And I heard several people there talk about the issue of the father, and very similar to mine. And so I'm trying to get it out to as many people who are from that background, if you know people who are from that background.
beautiful. Thank you, Tyrone. Let's pray. Father, thank you for my friends. Thank you for this wonderful time. It's been pure gold for me just to reconnect. Pray that you bless them and their families. And Father, you know that we have an issue in our country of just uh, not having a real focus on supporting our young dads and their boys, and we believe that that can be a way to turn our country around and bring love and bring Jesus and yeah, help our boys have a community to grow with. Thank you for this time. We love you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Guys, you're
All right.
awesome.
All
Thanks,
right.
Bart. Have a great night.
Thanks,
Appreciate you,
Bart.
brother.
Thanks.
Good
Good
night,
night.
everybody.
All
All right.
right.
Nice meeting everyone.
Okay. Hey,
Have a good
Thanks,
Pierre.
day.
everybody.
Pierre.
Bye now. See you, Norris.